Hi, welcome to Bari-Nation, where we support the bariatric community with humor, humility, and honesty.
You've just tuned into a podcast that welcomes you into a community, a resource center, and a safe place that powers your journey towards personal wellness.
Our goal is you leave us today feeling hopeful, inspired, and ready to live your best bariatric life.
Hi, BariNation. It's April. Happy New Year. Welcome to the very first episode of 2025. Our theme this year is Relentless Curiosity. And recently we sat down with Dr. Sarah Hayek, who is the partner of Dr. Eric Smith at the Kentucky Bariatric Institute. We took a deep dive into how her husband has used this tool along his bariatric journey. He went about 10 years struggling with his weight before he made the decision to undergo bariatric surgery. And in today's episode, Dr. Hayek is going to share her experience of watching and helping her husband move through this process. He really tapped into relentless curiosity, and Dr. Hayek does a phenomenal job of explaining how she's seeing that tool be so powerful in action. The Kentucky Bariatric Institute was the first practice partner of BariNation. We are so thankful for their support. They offer every single one of their patients a 3-month complimentary membership into our membership community. So if you are a patient of Dr. Smith or of Dr. Hayek, open the show notes and click that KBI link so you can learn more and take advantage of this amazing opportunity. Again, we are so thankful for their partnership, and we know that you are going to absolutely love watching and listening to this episode. All right, let's dive in. Well, friends, welcome to the very first year of 2025. Welcome. I know. Welcome to the podcast. Just welcome to this moment of the year where I think a lot of people are filled with hope for great things ahead. And today, my friends, I'm so excited to be welcoming Dr. Sarah Hayek back to the podcast. Hello, Dr. Hayek.
Hi, I'm so excited to be here.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So before we officially hit record, Dr. Hayek and I had this conversation, and the timing of this is absolutely meant to be. You will soon understand why. But here's why I am so excited to have this conversation. Our focus for 2025 in BariNation is curiosity. We want to lean into, we want to understand, and we want to adopt this curiosity mindset. And why that's so important is because when we are feeling stuck along this journey, when we are second guessing our decision, if we are freaking out that things are going too good and we're waiting for the other shoe to drop, or if we are just having a hard time committing to having the decision to have bariatric surgery, curiosity is the thing that we have to tap into if we want to do things differently. Doing things differently is the key to change. Doing things differently means that you acknowledge that something is not working the way that you want it to, and you're going to have to mix things up. Doing things differently also means things could be going really, really well, and you are afraid that the other shoe's going to drop. So the thing that you might need to do differently is trust the process, right? Is lean into that trust and that belief, lean into community. So don't think that curiosity and doing things differently only applies to things when they're not going well. It also applies to things when they are going well. And really, that's what today's conversation is all about. You guys are going to hear a very personal story from Dr. Hayek about how somebody she loves dearly leaned into curiosity and made the decision to do something differently. You guys are going to be so inspired. You're going to be filled with hope. I know this conversation is reaching you in this moment that you need to hear it, because you're probably like me. You're probably like everybody in the world. Something's got to give. Something's got to change. And curiosity is the thing that is going to help us do that. Okay, Dr. Hayek, will you introduce yourself to anybody who,
of course,
doesn't know you?
All right, so Sarah Hayek. I am a bariatric surgeon in Kentucky. I work with Dr. Eric Smith at Kentucky Bariatric Institute, and we do robotic bariatric surgery, which we absolutely love. And we have been longtime partners with BariNation. Love you guys. Our patients really love you too. And today, I got a very new experience. So today, I was the support person for my husband, whom has given me permission to share his story, but got his gastric sleeve by Dr. Eric Smith today. So yeah, I was the one sitting in the waiting room, like waiting for my partner, Dr. Smith, to come out and tell me that everything was done and great. And it was a very new experience for me. And I am learning so much by going through this experience with him. And it has been a long path to get here. And we have done a lot of curiosity searching. So this is like perfect.
Oh my God. When you and I were texting before we had the phone call, that I kept thinking of that word. It's probably not the right word, but it's like verklept, or like when the universe converges all at the right moment and everything is like and I was like, oh my God, this is amazing, because you are such a skilled expert in guiding people through this process. But to be on the other side of this, where you are a support person and you have been really walking with your husband for years as he got to this point to make the decision to have surgery, it's like a whole new, like, part of your life is unlocking right now.
Huge. Yes. Huge new part.
Oh my God.
It's been a lot for both of us. And it's one of those things that like some of the things that have really like caught me have surprised me, because I was like, I do this every day. I do this literally every day. But I also walk away from it when I leave the hospital. And now I don't. And so that's been a very different experience.
Oh, that gave me chills. Oh my God.
So now it's at home with me.
Now it's at home with you. With you. Well, yeah. And it's so true. Like now you're seeing the after hours. Now you're seeing really what patients are physically and emotionally going through. And it's true. It is very different. It's a completely different world. And I know, and we're going to get into this, but what you've always counseled your patients to do and help, and, you know, told them like, this is ahead for you. You're seeing that in your husband now. So the advice and the guidance that you're giving them is 100% accurate, but it absolutely has to hit differently when you're living with somebody who's actually going through it.
I know. And poor for him, he is living with me as he's going through it. So yeah, he like can't hide, you know, like you can kind of, you know, tell your significant other maybe like, oh, the doctor said this, they said it was okay, something like that. That doesn't fly in my house.
No, it does not.
I'm like, did I? But did I? So it's been really interesting for both of us. You know, it's easy to give that advice and to talk about it and to say, you know, oh, implement this in your life. But then actually being there when those little decisions need to be made, there are just so many little decisions throughout a day that are made. That it kind of like, you know, that it's habits and you know it adds up. And I'm sure you understand this. And conceptually, I thought I understood it, but until you experience it, you don't realize like it's from the moment you wake up until the moment you go to sleep.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I truly don't get to walk away from it now. And he doesn't get to walk away from it. And my patients don't get to walk away from it. And that, like, I thought I understood that. I didn't. I'll be honest, I didn't. I didn't know what it meant it drives every single day.
It does. It is a part of every single day. It's a part of every moment. It is almost a part of every decision that you make. And before surgery, that drive, that hunger, that gnawing, that fear, worry, all of that, as patients, you carry with you every single moment. And I swear it's like when I started losing the weight, those things also started to kind of drift away from me. And it's almost like it's a part of that excess weight, right? The excess weight is this physical manifestation of all of the things that are actually going on the inside. And surgery helps you get distance from that. And as you lose the weight, some of those things become more exposed, and which is a good and a bad thing. But you also have the ability to kind of let them go a little bit more as well. So I'm so excited to hear about your husband's experience through your lens.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been a long path for us.
So that was great segue. That is my very first question. So like, how did you get here today? Was this a decision that he made instantaneously, or has it been a long time coming?
been a long time coming. So he and I actually met back when I was in residency, or really when I was graduating medical school. So we've been together now for about 10 years, and it's been a struggle that he has dealt with his whole life. And it's really something that his family has dealt with very very common in his family. And so we have talked about it. We've kind of tried a bunch of different things. So we've, I say we, but he's been doing this even longer than that, of course. Yeah. He's tried a lot of things. He's been somebody who has been a runner. He's been somebody who has done many different types of diet plans. He has carb counted. He has calorie tracked. He's done kind of all of it. And then even more recently, we even tried the GLPs and kind of went down that pathway.
Okay.
We can talk about that. And so we've done many, many different things, and I've tried to be as supportive as I possibly can. I've joined in on many of these things, but ultimately there's a disease process here, and it's obesity. And so we kind of, back last year, when I joined Kentucky Bariatric Institute, he said, I'm going to do 6 months more. I'm going to take 6 more months. I'm on the GLPs. I'm going to see if I can commit to a diet and lifestyle modification. And in 6 months, we're going to reevaluate it. And so we did. And in 6 months, we really hadn't made as much progress as he would have liked to have made. And so that's when we said, okay, well, what do you want to do about this? And as we've been at Kentucky Bariatric Institute, previous to this, I didn't have a partner who did bariatric surgery. So it wasn't like I could turn and say, because ethically and, emotionally, I can't do it for my own husband. That's just, emotionally, I am not going to make the right decisions in the operating room if it's my own husband on the table. So I need somebody else. So prior to being with Kentucky Bariatric Institute, I didn't really have anyone to send him to that I had that kind of relationship with, that he had that kind of relationship with. But after being with Dr. Smith for the past year, clearly they are very good friends. They've kind of gotten to know each other. And he really developed this comfort level where he said, you know what? Okay, let's see what it would be if I trusted in the process. And I did it. Oh. And so here we are. He threw all of his trust into us today.
Yes, he did.
And he is literally downstairs sleeping off the anesthesia. We just went for a walk before we got on. We went for a walk. We took sips of our protein water.
Oh, look at him. Model patient.
I know, right? I know. And he's got our dog nursing him right now. So they're all cuddled up in bed, relaxing, recovering. And when we're done, we're going for another walk.
I mean, literally, you could not ask for a more studious patient. I mean, well done. Well done, Dr.
He's going to be the most hydrated, most protein forward and walked patient there ever was.
Gold stars for him all around. Woo.
I know. Oh. As we were leaving, Dr. Smith was like, just don't overdo it. Like, let him relax today. Just let him have at least 12 hours.
I like how Dr. Smith gives you the instructions for you to not oh God. Exactly. Like he's totally, your husband's going to be fine. But you, on the other hand, strict instructions from Dr. Smith.
Like, give him 12 hours. Okay. Let the anesthesia at least get out of his body before you start. Like, and I was like, what? We're going for what?
I mean, doctor's orders. See? So
my poor husband.
Well, I want to circle back to something that you said, because I feel that this is such an important part of this conversation. I know that there are millions of people out there who are feeling exactly like your husband. And when we were talking earlier, we discovered we married the same man. Not literally, but my husband is your husband as well.
Yes.
My husband walks 20, 30, 40,000 steps a day. He is a high steel iron worker. That man is 6'2", solid muscle through and through. He also suffers from the disease of obesity and has tried absolutely under the sun with me to shed that excess weight. And I worry about him because he carries his weight in his middle. I know it's visceral, and he doesn't look like a candidate for surgery. He's bigger and he has excess weight, but he wouldn't be featured on My 600-Pound Life, right? He wouldn't be featured on 1,000-Pound Family Sisters, right? And I think people have this notion that surgery is only the right choice for them if they are super morbidly obese, if they look like somebody who's featured on that show. And it's simply not true. It's not true. And your husband really leaned into curiosity and decided to do something different when he committed to surgery. But can you talk more kind of about the like mental gymnastics that you saw him do to get to this point to make the decision?
Oh my gosh, so much so. Yes. So that was, when we were talking earlier, that was the one thing. So my husband took a long time to get there because his perception, and I think that a very common perception, is that in order to have bariatric surgery, you somehow need to stand out in a crowd, be somehow not the normal, right? Like this is a disease that is not normal. Well, the reality is that about 50% of the United States population qualifies for and should have bariatric surgery. So it is the normal. It is very much the normal. So he was surprised when I was saying, I really think this is something that you should do because he looks like a guy who's just kind of muscular and, maybe a little bit burly, but he does not look like somebody that I think most people would look at and say, you should really consider bariatric surgery. He's a very normal looking guy. But I know his family history. And I know they have a family history of bleeding and blood clots. And you know what? He needs to be here to see our kids grow up. So I'm not going to let a pulmonary embolism or some sort of blood clot, take him from us. That's that's my fear. And that's one of the things that I think as doctors, we think about that all the time. We think about those increased risk factors. We think about male obesity actually a little bit differently than female obesity sometimes, because men tend to carry their fat more, what we call visceral fat, that fat that surrounds our organs. And that's the fat that has a direct correlation to our cardiovascular risks. Not so much the fat that we don't like in the mirror that we can see and we can touch and we can pinch, but the deeper fat. But because men tend to carry that fat in their abdomen below their muscle level, they tend to look more muscular and fit. And so there is less of this perception that maybe they should be having bariatric surgery because they just look like they're muscular. And because men can carry a lot more muscle than many women. And so they tend to think that I'm okay. But being who I am and having the access to our body composition analyzer, I was able to get my husband onto that. And he was able to look and see what his visceral fat really was and see what his risk factors really were. And that's kind of what changed our dialogue at home, was when he really saw what his body is composed of and where he carries his fat and what risk factors that put him at. People say they would do anything for their family, anything for their kids. And so finally he was like, well, I'm going to live for our kids. I'm going to fight.
Yes.
And I was like, that's great. I love doing that now rather than doing that after you've had the bad blood clot.
Yes. Yes.
Right. So he's been through a ton. It took a lot of, he's an engineer, so he's very data driven. So it took a lot of data. That's what the body composition analyzer was about. And he finally just decided, you know what? How many more 6-month intervals do I need to go through to prove to myself that this isn't working?
Yeah.
Is there an end point? And the reality is that there really wasn't an end point until he decided to place one for himself.
Yes.
And now here we are. Yeah. And we did the GLPs, and that's another thing that I think we're planning on talking about tonight, is that it's huge right now. And it's something that we should talk about because it's a great resource. In certain situations, it is amazing, but it's also not the cure for obesity.
Thank you.
It is a treatment for obesity, but it is not a cure for obesity. For most people, I should say for most people. There is a small percentage that it is, but the vast majority of patients who qualify, it's not your cure. And it doesn't treat the other disease processes that are related to it. So,
yes.
And then there's a lot with GLPs.
And I'm on a GLP-1 myself. So my surgery was my primary treatment. I have hundreds of secondary adjunct treatments, community being one of the ones that I lean into on the daily basis, right? Medication I lean into on a weekly basis. I could not be where I am today had it not been for all of these treatments mashed into one. Bariatric surgery, weight loss, anti-obesity medication is not going to be the only thing that you need, right? It is going to take community. It is going to take education. It takes nutrition. It takes shifting our mindset, right? It takes all of these things into one. And what I appreciate about you sharing your husband's story with permission is that his story is being lived by millions of other people right now. Yes. Millions of other people are saying to themselves, okay, I'm just going to try this one more thing. I'm just going to do this one more thing. I'm going to give myself 6 months. And that is doing something differently. But if you kind of take a step back, it's not. It's doing the same thing with a different outfit, right? With a different type of protein. Yes. It's not fundamentally doing something different, changing something. Whereas making the decision to get curious about what metabolic and bariatric surgery is all about can actually change your life. It can be the difference maker in what you have been doing for so long and struggling with. And then finally getting a tool that truly does make a difference. And from that point forward, you might still do some of these things that you've been doing in your past, right? You are going to be following a different type of diet, a bariatric diet, but you're going to have a different mindset. You're going to have different tools. You have a different why. You have different reasons for doing these things. But if that thing in the middle doesn't change, then your story's not going to change. 6 months from now, you're going to be going, oh, okay, well, that didn't work, or that didn't result in what I thought it would. And that's so frustrating. You feel like a crazy person because you're living the same thing over and over and over again.
It's incredibly frustrating because you'll see some results, but it needs to be something sustainable. That's the problem. That continued, you see some results, it's really exciting, and then it comes back. Yeah. And now we feel like we're starting again, or we are, maybe even worse off than we were before. And you're just wondering, why did it not work? It didn't work because 99% of the time, statistically 99% of the time, diet and lifestyle modifications aren't enough. Yeah. So don't beat yourself up that you're the 99%. Yes. Like, that's okay. That's what I expected you to be. We would never treat high blood pressure with a drug that's 1% effective, right? Nor would you be upset if you took a drug that's 1% effective and your blood pressure was still high. Yeah. Right? You would be like, well, okay, yeah, I kind of figured I would be. That's what this is. Unfortunately, that's just what the data is. There are so many more things than just the number of calories that you eat in a day. It is so much more than that. Oh, I can remember at the first ASMBS conference we went to the keynote address by Dr. Robert Kushner, and his address was about weight reoccurrence, why it happens. So, right, for patients, the word that we often use is regain, right? Like, why do people experience regain? And he put up this graphic, and it was all of the research that has been done that shows the things that contribute to a person's weight, right? Especially excess weight within the disease of obesity. This graphic was it showed hundreds of different things that can impact a person's weight recurring. And the takeaway for that for us was so powerful because it was like, oh, okay, I can be doing everything right. I am doing everything right. But the disease continues to progress. So like every other disease treatment model out there, you don't just stop treating it because it is reoccurring. You throw more things at it. You onboard more tools.
And for some reason in our brain, that old thinking comes back and it goes, oh, nope, it's me. I'm just a horrible
Right.
person and I can't. And when you were talking earlier, I just need to say this again. When we are battling this disease, we can be doing everything right and our bodies will not respond in the way that they think they should.
Yes.
It does not mean there's something wrong with us. We are battling a disease, not these decisions that you are making. So you have to drop that shame. You have to drop that guilt and you just have to acknowledge the disease is progressing. And now I need different kinds of treatment.
Yes, exactly. And I think some of that honestly has been driven by medicine itself, by medical personnel, because you go to your doctor, you're told that you have obesity, you're told that you're overweight and that you need to lose weight and that you need to eat less, exercise more, and you need to come back and see me in 3 months. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So you just put all of that onus on that patient and you said, you are obese. You need to treat this. No. You have obesity. I need to treat this and help you. We're going to do this together. There are treatment options.
Oh,
But
that
so often,
also gave me chills.
Yeah, so often you leave your PCP and they've said, you have obesity, you need to treat this. No.
Yeah.
We don't do that with sleep apnea. You have sleep apnea, you need to treat this. You have high blood pressure, you need to treat this. You have breast cancer, you need to treat this. We would never accept that. But obesity, we do. And that is why you feel like it's your fault and your failure. Well, guess what? If you didn't solve your own high cholesterol, I wouldn't be feeling bad about myself that I didn't just somehow magically cure myself of high cholesterol, because I wouldn't be expecting that, because I wasn't expecting to cure myself. My doctor wasn't expecting me to cure myself. I had a treatment plan. I had specialists. I had a pathway. But in obesity, you're expected to treat yourself.
Yes.
And it's an evolving disease that we do not encompass and embrace as the disease that it is yet. And it's just because it's newer to the disease scheme of things. It's newer for physicians. And I think many primary care physicians just don't know how. It's not that they don't want to. They just don't know how. That's why they're specialists.
Right? That's why there are literally obesity medicine specialists that can help you with your treatment for this.
Yes.
Well, you've been together for your husband for 10 years. What were some of those big barriers that he just kept butting up against? Because, I mean, I can say this because I see it in my husband. My husband wants to live at a happy, healthy weight. He wants to be metabolically well. And he has done, again, everything under the sun. And he's still doing everything under the sun. But he's not seeing the results that he wants to see. But he is still so resistant to even having a consultation with a bariatric surgeon. Like, why? And he lives, like, I'm me and you're you.
Exactly.
What?
Yes. You would think. A lot of it has been stigma. A lot of it is him feeling like he should be able to take care of this. And why hasn't he? And so no, I can do it. It's a failure somehow to reach out and to say that, he needs some help with it. And that, I think, is a societal barrier. I think, honestly, there may be more of that in the male population too. Feeling like reaching out for help is somehow admitting defeat and failure. And then there are a lot of things that happen, right? So I was in residency and we had kids while I was in residency, right? That's a hard thing to do. It's a hard thing for me. It's a hard thing for him. He was doing a lot of the childcare of our very young children. So who's the one getting up in the middle of the night? Well, honestly, often him, because I might not have been there. I might have been at the hospital dealing with a trauma. So he was doing a lot of that. And there aren't really a ton of resources for postpartum men. There are things, and we're recognizing it and trying to treat it better in postpartum for mothers. But what do we do about postpartum for fathers? They have a lot of stress with that too. So we had some weight gain through, having 2 pregnancies, a miscarriage, residency, and then COVID. And his job converted from being in the office to being at home. And then you're at home and the pantry is just over there.
Mm-hmm.
And then the kids are getting older, and so they have their snacks over there. And of course, my children eat a little bit differently than we do. They're all about the snacks at this age. And so it becomes a very easy resource to just go over there when you're bored, when you're hungry, when you walk past it, and it just makes you think of it, right? Whereas my job, I physically can't eat. I'm a surgeon. Eating in the operating room, not really an acceptable thing. So I am physically removed from that and don't need to mentally think about restraining myself because it's just not an option.
Yeah.
But for him, it is a decision multiple times per hour to restrict himself. And at some point, you're going to say, okay, well, I actually am a little hungry and I'm going to go grab something. And that can add up really quickly.
Yeah.
So it's those little things. It's the tiny habits throughout the day, the tiny environmental factors that lead up to, here we are.
Yeah.
And then I think he has this perception that he's not far enough into obesity, because of course it's a spectrum, that he's not far enough into obesity, that he needs that help. He hasn't had any sort of major life event or diagnosis at this point in our life to say, okay, I was just diagnosed with diabetes. Now I should do something about it. He hasn't had any of those major events, and thank God we haven't. But the idea of preventing all of that is also that's a harder one too. Whereas as a physician, I'm looking at it going, well, I don't want to see you have to go through that. I don't want to see that disease process that I know is 10 years down the road.
Yeah.
I want to prevent that. And it's just a different preventative medicine versus action medicine to treat something that you have, I think was also a little bit of a barrier for him. What are you going to do about treating something that's theoretical?
Yes. I had this exact same conversation with my husband recently. It just breaks my heart to see him hit his head against the wall for so many years. And I can see the sadness, and I can see the frustration on his face when we're looking at pictures from years ago. Like I think I've known my husband now 16 years. And, we look back on pictures when we first met, and I was 300 and something pounds and he was probably 240, I don't know, 230. I honestly don't know. But I can see every time he looks at one of those pictures, he's taken aback and he's so frustrated and he just gets so down on himself. And his go-to response right now is, well, I just need to exercise more. And I'm like, okay, yes, you do need to exercise so you stay fit, strong, and healthy. You are fit, strong, and healthy. He, like your husband, doesn't have any existing comorbidities right now. He's not diabetic, right? His cholesterol's fine. Everything is okay now. So I think he wrestles with this, that like, well, but surgery is only right for me. Like if I have other things wrong with me, I just need to get in the right mind frame, and I have to eat better and I have to exercise more. And it's like, oh my God, no, right, you don't. Yes. And my fear is that if we continue down this path, you are going to have those things. Your mobility is going to be limited. He's a high steel iron worker. His livelihood, our livelihood, depends on him being physically able to move around a job site. Yeah. And I can see those things slipping away because the more excess weight that he has on his frames, his knees are going to go right. bad. His ankles are going to go bad. Like all of these things. And I'm just like, oh my God, this is not good, because sooner rather than later, his mobility is really going to be limited by it. But I just don't know what I can do to kind of get him over this hump, to just acknowledge, look, man, you are battling, like you are trying to build a building here and you don't have the right tools. Yep. Like, you would never, if you showed up to a job site and they didn't have a crane and all these other things that you'd be like, what? No, you can't do this, but you're doing it to yourself. You're trying to build this beautiful life, this beautiful building that we have a strong foundation on which we can do so. And you don't have the right tools. And instead of living in this building, we're just waiting for it to get built. And I mean, it's just like, come on, like, why is this so challenging?
I think one of the big turning points for my husband was getting him to build a relationship of trust with a bariatric surgeon that's not his wife, right? Like,
Yeah. Yes.
it's a little different when it's me. But to build a relationship with somebody that he trusts and respects, and then to come into an informational classroom. He sent me a couple of text messages that day that he was in the classroom. And it was really funny because I actually had to go over and teach the class that day. And we'd already decided like we would pretend we didn't know each other. So like I was his teacher. But he was like, number one, when he got into the room, he said, "These people look like me." I said, "Yes, they do." Because this is for everybody. This is for normal people. Yes, it is also for people who are super morbid obese and have a lot of excess weight to lose, but it is also for people that are fit, healthy, and functional that have a little bit of weight to lose.
Yeah.
It's for everyone, oddly. It's for 50% of our population. So yes, they look like you because that's the disease that we treat. The disease that we treat is a very common, very everyday disease. So yes, they look like you. Number two, he said he came into it feeling defeated and like he had failed everything. And then he left actually feeling excited. He was like, I actually feel a little bit excited about this. And that was super fun and super great to see. I am so sorry. Can I pause for a second? Because he just poked his head into the door. Yes? You need something? Oh, you're listening? Do you want to come say hello? You sure? He came up the stairs, April.
Yes! Dude,
I'm so excited.
He is rocking this. He is rocking this. Dang.
I heard the door opening and I thought it was a kid, but he was him. He made it up the stairs.
Good for him. Awesome.
Okay. So, so he said, you know, these people look like me. The people that are in this classroom look like me. They have the same disease as I do. I can talk to them about that disease in a different way than he can talk to me, than he can talk to other people, right? And I feel more inspired leaving this than I anticipated, right? He thought that he was just going to continue to feel beaten down and like it was a failure. But when he found his people and when he found a team that believes in what we do, that knows how to treat obesity, that knows the data behind it, that knows how important and impactful this is, that's when he went, oh, maybe this is a little different than what I see on social media. Maybe this is a little different than what I see on shows, on TLC, on those sorts of things. Maybe this is not as out there or extreme as I thought it was. And now here we are.
And now here we are.
Day zero.
Day zero. Oh, it is just so inspiring. And I remember I went through that exact same progression as well. Right. And I can remember leaving there thinking like, oh, yeah. And the reason that I made the decision to have surgery is because one of my friends who looked exactly like me had surgery. And my response to her was like, well, we're not big enough for that. We're not a 600-pound life. And she was like, girl, it is for us.
Yes.
And this is a message that I think this conversation is really going to help with. Because really there are two things that you really have to get curious about and you have to be brave enough to push through. It is that initial decision to build a relationship with a bariatric surgeon that you trust, with a center and a surgeon that you trust. That's the big one. And I'm so thankful you said this too. That second one on that medical day, you are so nervous about what is going to meet you on the other side of that. Yep. But when you understand that the people there with you are you, they are just like you.
Yes.
They are feeling the same way. They are struggling with the same things. They are anxious. They're equally excited and hopeful. When you have an opportunity to spend time with other patients, it changes your life forever. It is the most deeply profounding experience that we can go through as patients because we live in a world in which we are isolated from the rest of it. and we kind of do it to ourselves, right? And we say this all the
Yes.
time. Obesity is an isolating disease. We feel that we have to isolate. We self-isolate. We don't talk about it with anybody, even though everybody can see it, right? This disease is the most public-facing disease. Everybody
Yes, it
knows I'm
is.
struggling with something, but I'm not talking about it. I'm not acknowledging it. It just doesn't exist. And you isolate into yourself. And when you get around other people who are also feeling that, and you realize there's nothing wrong with them, they're totally normal people. You just
Yes.
feel your walls dropping. You feel the fear and the guilt and the shame. It just kind of like, like on Star Trek or whatever, when they beam people up, it's like those beam walls just kind of evaporate, and you're looking around going, oh, I can do this. It is the
Yes.
most powerful experience that we can experience as patients. And I know that they feel that when they're in there for the educational day, they feel it in the BariNation support community. That's why once
Yes.
people joined, they're like, oh my God, why did I not do this sooner? You get to be around people who get it. And
Yes.
that changes your life. It changes your life.
And I underestimated that. I completely underestimated that. I underestimated what a barrier it was to get into that classroom. Because to me, it's filling out a little bit of paperwork and coming to the classroom for the day. That did not seem to be as big of a barrier as it was. I didn't realize all of the things that you have gone through mentally before you get to that moment of walking in the door. All of the self-doubt, all of the conversations that you've had in your own self, in your own brain, and then maybe even with others around you who may or may not be, they may be supportive, they may be questioning, you could have all sorts of things. That is something I underestimated. And the power of people who you don't even need to know them well or interact with them for long. As much as I can tell anyone, this is a disease I treat every single day. I have thousands of patients like you. It doesn't hit home. It doesn't do the same thing. I can come home every single day and talk about taking care of patients just like my husband. But until he actually talks to another patient, I can talk until I'm blue in the face. It doesn't make a difference. He needs to have that community. He needs to be in that support. And it's just not something that I can offer, even if you live with the bariatric surgeon. I just can't offer that. So BariNation, making connections at your surgeon's office, finding groups, whatever it is way more powerful than I even gave it credit for.
Yeah. It's why we always encourage people who are on the bariatric path, join BariNation and start going to the support groups and the meetups.
Yep.
It might even be better that you don't have a surgery date yet, because it's in those safe places that is kind of like this walled garden, right? It's not social media. Nobody on the outside world is seeing it. This is just your place to go and say, I am really scared about this, or I'm wondering about this, or I'm just so thankful to feel the sense of relief finally in the first, I haven't felt this way in 20 years. It is your place to go and to have that moment and to get connected in, because after you do that, you will never feel alone again along this journey.
Yep.
Ever.
And it's going to happen again, because this is not going to be, oh, I had surgery and boom, everything is somehow miraculously fixed.
No.
You're going to hit it again when you hit a plateau, when you are struggling to get your protein in, when you have a little weight regain, when you thought you had come off of medications and restart another one. You're going to hit moments along the way that it's just as important to plug back in.
Oh my God.
Because once again, you need to know this is okay.
Yes. Yeah. There are so many moments along this journey where I have felt completely unmoored. I have felt detached from reality. You're going along and you think everything is fine, and then all of a sudden something happens and it's not fine. And you do not know where to go. Or everything is going fine. It has been going fine for months. And you start looking over your shoulder and you start saying, all right, when is this other shoe going to drop? Because there is no way that this is possible. Yes. Or you're 2, 3, 4 years out and things are mundane. They're boring. You get tired of doing it. You don't know what your purpose is in life anymore. You are detached from your why. all of those moments are moments for curiosity and moments for community. Because in my 5.5 years post-op, the thing that is absolutely 100% true every second of my life is that I have a safe place that I can go and reattach to reality. I have a safe place that I can go and say, I am spinning out of control here, or I am freaking panicked, or I'm really worried. Things are going great. Somebody tell me that that this is okay, that it's okay for me to be excited about things going great. I have that place of connection. I have that place I can literally tap into every moment of every day. It is where I'm grounded. It is where I stay connected to reality. And at every stage, I have needed that community. And it is the most important part of my journey outside of my surgery and the surgeon.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. It's probably more important than us, to be honest. Your surgeon is part of your life. Yes, we do preoperative stuff, we do postoperative stuff, but when we are using our trained skills, our surgery trained skills, it is somewhere between 1 and 4 hours of your life. That's it.
Wow.
And the rest of it is you. And that is where you need all of those other resources, because the reality is the outcome measures, they're really honestly not linked to my skill set. They're linked to, do you come back and do you see your physician? Are you coming back and keeping your follow-up appointments? Are you taking your postoperative nutrition, vitamins, supplementation, those sorts of things? Are you sticking to the lifestyle modifications? The immediate outcomes, yes, can be linked to your surgeon and such, but your overall long-term health outcomes are actually related to those daily habits that you do, not so much to my skill set.
Okay.
Don't get me wrong, I've trained very long and hard to get my skill set.
Yes, you have.
And I take great pride in what I do, and I'm very careful and methodical and very precise every single time. But your long-term success is less related to what I do inside your body and more related to the daily habits that you choose. Wow. And that's just the reality of it.
I do understand that from a patient, and it's hard for me to hear it because I'm so thankful for my surgeon and for my surgery, right? Because I wouldn't be where I am without that. But I do know. I mean, every bump in the road that I've hit, every stall, every snag, every moment of joy, all of those things, I was able to persevere through them because I had the community. You
can get the nicest, fanciest car in the world, but if you don't know how to drive it safely, if you don't follow the rules of the road, if you don't take care of it and give it the maintenance that it needs, it's not going to get you anywhere.
Yeah.
So I can give you that, but then you've got to drive it. You've got to maintain it. You've got to put in the work to it every single day.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I get that. Well, and I did want to say, Dr. Hayek, you actually have given your patients this, because KBI offers their patients 3 months of BariNation for free.
Yes.
For free.
Completely.
This is completely free, like no strings attached, no credit card, no nothing. So your patients you really have gone above and beyond for them, because you do understand how critically important, right, that additional support is. So you have done that. You really have given them such a complete package for this journey. And especially now that you're seeing it from your husband's lens, like you said, like you're understanding it on so many different levels that other practitioners sometimes don't always get.
Yes, we do things a little bit differently at KBI, and I think we do it differently for many reasons. A ton of education, a ton of community, a ton of support, because that's what really I think honestly the reason we have really good outcomes and we're so proud of that is because of all of the other parts of it.
Yeah.
If you need your gallbladder taken out, if you need an appendix taken out, you need a hernia fixed, it's kind of a quick, you come in, you meet me, we figure it out, we do it, and I see you at post-op, and good luck, call me if you have trouble. This is totally different. This is not call me if you have trouble. This is, we're in this together. you're mine, I'm yours for life.
Yep.
We're here together.
Yep.
And, I'm going to commit to you and I expect you to commit to me. And we are going to stick this out. We're going to figure this out. There are going to be bumps along the way, but that doesn't mean that you can't come to me when there are bumps. That's what I'm here for. I am not just here for the surgery. I am here for all of it. I am here for the, okay, so I know I wasn't supposed to, but that's okay. Okay, that's all right. I am okay with that. Nobody does things perfectly the first time.
Yeah, no.
It's just, you don't.
No.
I don't. I mean, let's be honest. I don't make perfect decisions every single day.
Yeah, no, but perfection is a mirage. It will absolutely drive you crazy because you are never going to attain it. Perfection is something that you can look back and go, oh yeah, wow, I really did that the best that I possibly could have done. Awesome. But if that's what you're looking for out in the future, it is a freaking mirage. And if you think that you are going to do everything perfectly and everything is going to work out exactly how you envisioned, no, not the case.
Right.
Not the case. No.
So let's not worry about that in the future. Let's worry about today, because we spend so much time thinking about what happened yesterday. What do I want to happen tomorrow? Well, you know what? Today is about to be yesterday. So let's focus on what we can do right now. And tomorrow will be easier if we make the decisions today. So really, yesterday and tomorrow are both driven by today. So let's just focus on today. How can we win today? How can we make the right decisions today? How can I right now in this moment, even if I messed up in the morning, how can I right now make a good choice? Live a little bit more in the moment. Enjoy it. Don't constantly be looking behind you or in front of you. This is the moment. Enjoy this moment.
It so perfectly encapsulates what our year is going to be all about, right? It's that curiosity. Let's lean into curiosity. Let's wonder what would happen if you booked a consultation with a bariatric surgeon and just went in and talked to them.
Exactly.
Let's wonder what would happen. All right, my friends, I know that you are leaving this episode just amazed at the ways that we can use curiosity as a tool in any part of our bariatric journey. In 2 weeks, you're going to hear part 2 of this episode. And Dr. Hayek does an amazing job of explaining to us the differences between laparoscopic and robotic bariatric surgery. And then she gives us her bold predictions for obesity treatment in 2025. So make sure that you tune into that episode in 2 weeks. Thank you for listening and watching today. We can't wait to support you in this year ahead. That wraps up another empowering episode of the Bari-Nation podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, keep the conversation going by joining the Bari-Nation membership community, where you can attend live support events, access on-demand resources, and find a caring community.
Join us at BariNation.mn.co. If you found this podcast valuable, help us produce it by becoming a $5 monthly supporter at BariNationPodcast.com.
And just remember, at the end of the day, you've got this, we've got you, and we'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.